welcome to our speaker of the day, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, Head of Department of Management, Dr. Inderpal Singh Arora, and our respected faculty members and dear participants. First of all, I would like to give a brief introduction and profile of our worthy speaker, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur. Dr. Jaspreet Kaur is an associate professor at Pearl Academy. She has over 16 years of teaching experience in marketing research. She has authored 2 books on customer relationship management and services marketing, and has written many research papers in Scopus and ABDC journals. She's an editor and reviewer to many ABDC and Scopus index journals, like International Journal of Consumer Studies by Wiley and Management Decision IMRL. So she is an AMT certified faculty from AIMA and has received the CRABS Best Researcher Award in the year 2008, and as well ITSR Best Researchers Award in year 2020. She is a trainer for Nvivo software from numericalanalytics.com for the software training in many management institutes. Apart from this, she has conducted over 25 FDPs and workshops on the topics of systematic review and meta-analysis and qualitative research with Nvivo this year. So I welcome you, ma'am, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur. Now I would like to welcome Head of Department of Management, Dr. Inderpal Singh Arora, for extending a warm welcome and a welcome address to our speaker of the day. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Manisha. Good evening to all the dignitaries, faculty members, and research scholars present in this FDP. I, on behalf of KCL-IMT, extend my welcome to Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, Associate Professor, Pearl Academy. She is a renowned academician having very rich experience in teaching and research. We are obliged to have a resource person like Dr. Jaspreet to share her views on most recent topic and Nvivo analysis. In the current pandemic of COVID-19, when all of us have to stay home, but as a teacher, our quest of knowledge is increasing day by day. And the only medium to satisfy this thirst are online webinars and FDPs, etc. Maintaining the chain of continuity, we are here with our 6th online FDP series 2020, that is Learning Must Go On. The main objective of this FDP is to acquaint the faculty with the latest software and Nvivo analysis, which is a tool of evaluating qualitative research. As we know that qualitative research comprises of logic, ethnography, discourse analysis, case study, open-ended interview, participant observation, counseling, therapy, grounded theory, biography, comparative method, introspection, focus group, literary criticism, meditation practice, historical research, etc. Nvivo analysis helps qualitative researchers to organize, analyze, and find insights in unstructured or qualitative data like interviews, open-ended surveys, responses, journal articles, social media, and web content, where deep levels of analysis on small or large volumes of data are required. I again welcome Dr. Jaspreet, and I invite our resource person, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, to share her views on this topic. Thank you very much. Yeah, ma'am, you're audible, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to be here. A special thanks to Dr. Sonu Dua for making this possible. And yes, qualitative research. I really like the way, sir, you summarized all the types of qualitative research. And that is what I will start with today. So before going to Nvivo, I'll go by the pace of the participants. I will first go to what is qualitative research. I will go to what is grounded theory, what is ethnography, what is case study, and then I'll go to its application in Nvivo, because Nvivo is nothing but a software. And the bad thing about a software, any software, whether it's an MOS you use for SAM, whether it's an SPSS, whether it's an Nvivo, the bad thing about a software is something which we call in IT garbage in, garbage out. So that is the bad thing about a software. So despite the fact that you're a qualitative researcher and you know Nvivo, if you give it garbage, it'll give you out garbage. So what I'll start with today is how do you make that input? All right, what do you put inside Nvivo, and when do you put what? Right? So sir rightly said, we're talking about personal interviews. We are going to talk about focus group, case studies, ethnography, Historic study I haven't covered, but I'll touch upon it if need be. Um, all other methods of collecting data, I'm going to list them. When we work on Nvivo, we will have a file of each of them. So on Nvivo, you can work with audio data, video data, text data, data from social sites. You can work on all this. So when I start with Nvivo, I will have a file of each of these. Okay. So let me start with today's topic, qualitative data and why qualitative data. Now, today we had a meeting. I'm just sharing. We had a meeting at Pearl Academy somewhere in Polish, and they said that we are mute. Can everybody please mute? Please mute. Yeah. So there was this meeting which happened in which they said that we have been in the online classes for about 5 months now. Now Pearl Academy wants to know whether the online classes were good or bad. So one way of doing it is that let's give it to the student, mark good or bad. That is a multiple choice. That is something quantitative. Another thing which is very, very dangerous, by the way, and you could do it with your institute also if you want to really get the idea of it. Tell them to write a paragraph about online teaching from this institute, from your respective institute. Now, when they write that paragraph, the amount of things they'll write, the amount of words they'll write, and they might just write very dangerous words, positive, negative, the amount of feelings that they express, all that cannot be done in the yes, no. That is the reason qualitative data. But the problem in many institutes, even in my institute, they asked me, they said, Jaspreet, will you be able to analyze text data? It's open, it's good for me to give an open-ended question, but I'm scared to give an open-ended question. The reason for not giving an open-ended question was that quantitative data is easy to analyze. It's 0 or 1, 5 or 4, yes or no, male or female. The problem comes when you get feelings from people, when you get behavioral instances from people and text from people. So that is the reason in most of the research surveys, what they do is they don't just put an open-ended question. Simple. Don't put an open-ended question. No qualitative data will come because the reason is we don't know how to analyze it. So today in my meeting, they asked me, they said, is there a way of analyzing qualitative data? And I was there to tell them yes. And they were surprised. They said, how come, Jaspreet? I mean, can words and feelings be put into a software and it'll give us results? I said, yes, very much. But all the research that we do through qualitative data is what we call exploratory. So I'll just go to my slides. Okay, there might be just some very basic concepts which I'll just touch upon and go off, because see, before doing a qualitative research, you need to know some basics, like what is an exploratory research design, what is a descriptive research design, what is a causal. I expect you people to know this. Even if you do not know, I would like you to have a quick reading before you come for tomorrow's session so that you understand better. Qualitative research is used in exploratory research. What is exploratory research? Information loosely defined, research process unstructured. The worst thing that I've seen among my students, whether it is Pearl Academy students when they come for their final evaluation, whether it is the PhD students I'm guiding when they come to me with their synopsis ready or their part ready, the worst part that I see, which really questions me as a teacher, is when they bring a survey questionnaire, a multiple choice, closed end, structured questionnaire, and say, ma'am, we are doing exploration. At that point of time, I don't know whether they feel like a failure or not, because they don't know they are wrong, but I start feeling like a failure. If as a faculty, I couldn't tell them that exploration cannot be structured, exploration cannot be done through a questionnaire survey, I think I have failed. First thing first, chuck out the questionnaire, chuck out the structured questionnaire. It is not a part of qualitative research. It's not a part of exploratory research also. Structured questionnaires, multiple choice questionnaires, quantitative data is something which relates to descriptive studies and causal studies. It has nothing to do with exploration. Exploration is a study where we are finding out a new variable. How can I bind my sample and say, no, tell me out of these three choices? That is done when my variable is already known. That is done when I know three variables and I tell him, okay, select. Exploration is when I don't know a variable, it's a new variable. Okay, I'll come to examples of this. I'll come to a few of the personal examples that I use in my class, because I deal with 18 to 22 years old students, and taking a 2-hour class with them means getting their attention. So I use personal examples. I'll be using them here too. So tentative findings, loosely structured data, unstructured method of collecting data, key variables we have to find out, new constructs and new theories have to be found out, and that is what is exploration. Let me give you an example of exploration, and this is an example I gave in one of my FDP, and there was a Delhi University faculty who called me up. She said that I want to do this. She actually wanted to do this. So listen this out. There is this one researcher who wanted to do exploration in psychology. He was a psychologist. He was trying to do an exploration. He said, I'll go for exploratory research. So he was, of course, a literate researcher. So he knew he had to do personal interviews. So I'll tell you the techniques which are used in exploratory or qualitative research, but he knew them and he went for a personal interview. What was his objective? It's a very, and by the way, this research is there online. I have the paper also if any of you want it. He studied what happens after death. He said, I will explore. So exploration is done by the Newtons and the Einsteins. I mean, you have to have a psyche for exploration. You know, Newton was sitting under the tree and then the apple fell. I mean, there were hundreds of people before him who sat under the tree and the apple fell and they just walk off with the apple. They did not think why. They did not think why. Exploration thinks why. So this is one man who said that I will study data. I'll go for exploration. I will study qualitative, and the new variable that I want to find out is what happens after death. Now, the problem in his research was you can decide a research objective, but the problem is how will you collect data? He knew he could collect data from personal interview, but the problem is, where is the sample? Should he go to a dead man and ask, okay, what happened to you post death? No, he can't do that. So what he did is he went to some 20-25 samples, and mind you, in exploratory or qualitative research, we can have a sample of 30 to 60 people, period. In a quantitative research, when you use a SEM model, or when you use regression, or when you use correlation, any sample less than 300 to 500 is criminal. But in a qualitative research, you can use a small sample. So he went to some 30 people all over the world. And these 30 people were the people who were declared dead by the doctor. They were declared dead by the doctor, but they came back to life within 10 minutes of their declaration of death. And he interviewed these people. He did not go to them with a structured questionnaire. Okay, tell me, what did you see? Did you see God? Did you see light? Did you see your wife? Did you see your kids? Did you see your boss? No, he didn't go to that man with a structured questionnaire. He went to that man with a PI question. He said, what did you see? Or what did you feel on those 10 minutes? Or did you feel something or not in the 10 minutes? These were the open-ended questions, unstructured, that he took to the person. And then the person started speaking. And when he started speaking, some 1800 words per transcript, we call it a transcript, per sample, some 1800 words were collected. And then an analysis was done on what did they see after death. Of course, there was a lot of secondary data which is available. There are religious books which show what happens after death. Lately, I came to know from the Delhi University faculty that there's actually an organization, there's an institute, a psychological institute which deals with these phenomena of what happens after death. It deals with the phenomena of she said a second birth. So rebirth. That guy is actually studying rebirth. So there are organizations, institutions doing research on it. So in exploration, what do? You find out a new variable. Now it's very difficult. I'm going to the person, I'm giving him one question: what happened after death? And I'm listening to him for 45 minutes. I'm writing down the text. I'm making some 800 to 2000 words for those 5 questions that I've asked. And now I put it into a software. So first thing first, please understand from where does the input of Nvivo come? This is exploratory research. So when you do a qualitative research, or what is the purpose of doing qualitative research? There are so many quantitative research, SEM, regression, chi-square, there's meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is also quantitative. What is the reason of doing qualitative? The reason of doing qualitative is to find out that one new variable, and it is disastrous and horrendous to search that variable through a structured, close-ended, rather I should say close-minded questionnaire. Structured question. So that's about exploratory research, and there have been other papers also on, for example, this is a paper which studied mergers and acquisitions in banks. So this is one of the papers. Okay, I'll now come to the methods in which you collect data. So if you've understood what is exploratory research, or what is the purpose of going qualitative, let me now come to the techniques in which you collect data. Once you know the techniques, then you can obviously collect data, and when you collect data, you can put it as an input in Nvivo. So the first type of technique is projective techniques. Okay, what are projective techniques? In projective techniques, I project the feeling of one person on another. So let me give you an example. If I was to go to a consumer and ask him, do you smoke? What will be the answer? Most probably the answer will be no. But if I ask the question in another way, do you think smoking is good? Then maybe he says a yes or no genuinely. Now, what have I done? What have I done? I have projected his feelings, the feelings that he had about smoking, on someone else. I could also say, do you believe that Salman Khan is a chain smoker? Is it good or bad? I could have asked the question like this. But basically, what am I trying to do? I'm actually trying to ask him, do you smoke? But the problem is that why we go for projective techniques is sometimes we can't go direct. Sometimes we can't go direct. We can't go and ask you, do you smoke? Okay, you can't do that. With teenagers, psychologists do a lot of research where they have to ask them about drugs. Do you think I can ask an 18-year-old, even a psychologist could dare to ask, do you take drugs? What will he say? He'll say, I don't take. I don't take. So we go to projective techniques. And how do we go to projective techniques? We project that into something else. So there's a very small exercise which I do in my class. Maybe even a few of you could try that. I explain this by drawing a circle on the board. I just draw a circle on the board, a normal circle, black color marker, simple circle. And I tell, I make each and every student stand up and say, what do you see in the circle? So there are people who say, I see a pizza, I see a roti, I see, there are some who say, I see a moon. There are some who say, I see a geometric figure. There are some who say, I see a ring. And then they are categorized into on the basis of their needs. So generally when we see that it's a simple circle, by the way, it's a simple circle. So if a person is seeing a roti or a pizza or a bun in it, which means he's hungry. If the person is trying to see a ring in it, a wedding ring in it, or he's trying to see the moon in it, probably he's romantic. If a person is trying to see a football in it, or a volleyball in it, or a cricket ball in it, which means he doesn't want to sit in my class, the next thing he wants to do is get out of my class and play. So this is how, now, you know, had I asked him straight away, okay, if I say, okay, Rahul, do you want to get out of my class and play? He would have said no. He would have said no. So this is how we project the feelings of our samples on something. Okay, so this is projective techniques. You could use them for qualitative research. Okay, and the second technique, which sir also mentioned, is ethnography. Okay, ethnography is a study of cultures, themes, motivations. Okay, it was invented by a person called Manil Noetsky, who in 1915 actually went to a tribal island and stayed with those people. What is ethnography? It's a study of culture, and you cannot learn culture in one day. So what do researchers do? And by the way, I'm still talking about techniques of exploration, techniques of qualitative research. I'm still on that. I'm just telling you methods in which you can collect it. So there's something called ethnography. So in ethnography, what you do is you go and stay with those people. Sometimes there are ethical concerns in ethnography because we don't tell those people that we are researchers. Because see, the whole reason of doing a qualitative research was to get a new variable, to understand their culture. We don't know what the culture of the tribal people is. I wanted to understand it. So I want them to be open to tell me everything. For that, I might have to stay with them for 6 months. This is what is ethnography. If you see any paper in which the ethnography has been wrapped up in 1 week of study, cross-sectional, please chuck it out. It's a wrong paper. It's a wrong paper. You stay with the people, you become a part of them. You become a part of them. You forget that you're a researcher, and you make the other person also forget that I'm a researcher. And you stay with them for somewhere around 6 months. And then finally you write up your thesis about them, about their culture. Now, although these things might look theoretically, psychologically right, let me tell you how we apply this in management. Okay, so I am from the management domain. I can only explain this in the context of management. So how do we apply this in management? There is a brand by the name of Brunello Cucinelli. There's a brand by the name of Brunello Cucinelli. This is a luxury brand of sweaters and cardigans. Okay, it makes cardigans or sweaters out of cashmere wool. One sweater of Brunello Cucinelli costs something like 1.2 lakh rupees. It's a luxury brand, a premium, a super luxury brand. So a sweater of Brunello Cucinelli costs 1.2 lakh. Sorry, Italian brand, very famous brand. And Brunello Cucinelli wants to come to India. Now, if a brand like Brunello Cucinelli, whose merchandise has camel colors, and the reason why I'm explaining you all this is because when you write a research paper, quantitative or qualitative, irrespective, you have to end it with a paragraph called Managerial Implications. So no editor wants to see your academic theory that you have extended. Nobody is there to see that. People are there to see what repercussions does it have for managers? How does the paper contribute to the industry? What will the brands learn from it? We are all management people. We are not here to of course we are academicians, no doubt, but the reason why we are doing research, qualitative or quantitative, is so that we could give those inputs to the industry as consultants. So that is the purpose of the paper. So Brunello Cucinelli actually sent a team of researchers to India. It sent a team of researchers to India. Those researchers stayed in India for somewhere around 6 months. And companies do that, by the way. Companies do that. I mean, they understand the culture. Italians don't know what sort of a culture we have. Italians did not know that camel color is a sweater which is only worn by our nannies and dadis. They didn't know that. They didn't know that. They thought camel color is a color which even youngsters might be wearing. Okay, it's very famously in India. It is known as the biscuity color. Okay, so that biscuity color is something which only nannies and dadis have. So and that is the colors which Brunello Cucinelli basically had in the Italian market. they had whites, they had beige colors, they had camel colors, they had gray colors, all the dadi and nani colors. And that is because Italians are not that loud when it comes to colors. So now this brand, which is going to serve the Indians, and they know that Indians have 1.25 lakh rupees to spend on a sweater. They know there's a market, they come to India. They come to India, they go for ethnography. 6 months, the company stays in India, stays with the people of India, does not let them know they are researchers, does not let them know they are from a company called Brunello Cucinelli. It might tell the sample. I'm talking of us as samples, because for Brunello Cucinelli, Indians are samples. Indians who can pay 1.25 are samples. So it can stay with us. It can, and it understands culture. For 6 months, they understood culture. And when they came to India, they are already in India online. They are planning to come to India in the physical stores also. They are coming up in India, and this is on record. This is from the managers of Brunello Cucinelli. I have spoken to them. They have done an ethnography. It is there. It's actually out of an expert interview. And they say that, ma'am, we are changing the range of colors. And I said, why are you doing that, sir? That's your USP, camel colors, beige colors, gray colors. That is what your company is known for. That is what the brand is known for. Why are you changing it? They said, ma'am, Indians don't like sober colors. I said, okay, so what sort of colors are you coming up with? And that man is himself shocked. After 6 months of research in India, the poor thing, he was shocked. He said, I'm coming up with a red. I'm coming up with an orange. And definitely I'm coming up with a pink. Blues and greens will follow, but a red, an orange, and a pink is compulsory before I come to India. How did he understand these 3 colors? And why did he know that this should have been a part of his merchandise before coming to India? It is something he came to know through ethnography. He came to our country and he understood the relevance of red. There's a huge relevance we attach culturally to the color red, to the color green, to the color orange. So he came, he studied, he studied the relevance, he stayed in our country for 6 months, wrote down scripts of qualitative data, went back, probably analyzed it through an Nvivo, and finally he recommended to the company, what is research for? To give a managerial implication. He recommended to the company that if you want to go to India, please, even if you're Brunello Cucinelli, the Brunello Cucinelli, nobody cares. Even if you're selling a sweater for 1.5 lakh, nobody cares. Those people like colors. Bright colors, and especially winters, it has to be bright. Do not go with the biscuity color, because only nanis and dadis wear it over there. So this research study, this ethnographic research study was something which became a basis of Brunello Cucinelli to bring a merchandise in India. Right, so this is one technique. It's very difficult. I have only seen one person, Dr. Sajid Pradhan. He was then in IMI Delhi when I attended his FDP on qualitative research. Now he's in IIM Trichy. I must say I learned a lot from him in Nvivo. So he gave me an example. He said, I want to work with truck drivers. He was taking an FDP of qualitative research on Nvivo. He explained to us ethnography, and we asked him, sir, have you ever done ethnography? He said, I want to do. He was an HR person, a human resource person. So he said, I want to do a study on truck drivers. And he had done chota mota qualitative studies. He had done personal interview, focus group, all this he had done. He wanted to experiment with ethnography. He said, I want to be with truck drivers and analyze why they have extramarital affairs. And he did tell us in the FTP. I said, sir, did you do the research? He said, no, my wife didn't allow me. He said, because ethnography means I'll have to live with those truck drivers. I'll have to travel with those truck drivers. I may have to be living as a companion with those truck drivers to find out what is the reason of their extramarital affairs. So that is ethnography. Qualitative research, finding out. I'm still on exploration. I'm still on finding out that new variable. Next, case study. I would like to explain, and this is what I do. I generally explain these techniques. See, you will get the theoretical definitions and explanations from books. So you could read a qualitative research by Russell Belk. Sorry, there are 2-3 books more which I can always send over to whoever's in charge. They can pass it on to you. So the basic definitions you can read, but what I'm telling you is where do you apply them? Okay, so I'm not telling you the definitions of ethnography or case study or projective techniques. I'm just telling you how to apply them in a paper, research paper, and how to conclude them for inputs to the managers. Now, please have a look at this man, and sorry for bringing this up, but you know, case study has to be something which gives you a jhatka. It is something which should, you know, really kick your mind and say, oh my God, can this ever happen? So generally when I teach my graduation students, so in their PPT, what I've done is I have a title written case study, and in that, below that, I have a picture of a monkey with horns, something which is impossible, something which is impossible. So that is what I call a case study, something which is impossible, one of its type. The sample of a case study could be only one sample. So imagine a case study can be developed, can be built on only one sample. And I'm going on record to say this. You can refer to Malhotra and Dash. You can refer to Dr. Russell Belk's qualitative analysis book. There are many others which you can refer to. A case study is something which you can do on one sample. And with this example, I'll explain the reason why I say so. So a case study is not done on 20, 30 samples. That is personal interview. That is personal interview. Case study is done on 1, 2, maximum 3 samples. That's it. Okay. What is a case study? A case study is a technique which even quantitative researchers use. But when I say what is a case study is exploratory, and it describes one episode. So let me explain this with an example. This is a person by the name of Phineas Gage. Phineas Gage was a person who was working in a firecracker factory, and while working there was a blast in the factory, and after the blast a 3-centimeter rod went through his brain, the way it has been shown. So it actually went into his brain and came out of the left jaw. So that's 3-centimeter rod just went through his brain. Now, ideally, you know, this man should have been dead. Ideally, he's not the first man through whom a rod has gone. So why do I call him a case study? Is because any person through whom this rod has gone should have been dead. Why this one man is a case study? Because, and by the way, his doctor has written a case study. He has published 2 research papers. His doctor is by the name of Dr. Harlows. He has written this case study and he's come to conclusions also, which we use in management. I'll come to the whole thing. So, a 3-centimeter rod goes through his brain. He should have been dead. He was not dead. He walks down to the doctor. So imagine he's conscious. Forget being dead. He's not even unconscious. He walks down to the doctor. He narrates what happens to him. He narrates all that happened. He tells the whole event. The doctor also asks him, do you remember your name? He says, yes, my name is Phineas Gage. It's a very interesting case study. If any of you want to explore further, please go and read this case study. Very, very interesting. So he comes to Dr. Harlow, who receives him, and Dr. Harlow says, I asked him, what's his name? He said, my name is Phineas Gage. I asked him, because the rod was through his brain, so I asked him, name your colleagues. He named his colleagues. He named his colleagues too. He was asked what was his doing when this happened. He explained that too. In between, he kept on vomiting. So physiologically, he was not okay, but psychologically, he was very much awake. Now, my question to you people, should Dr. Harlow have waited for another such sample? Yes or no? I'll repeat my question. Should Dr. Harlow have waited for another sample of this sort? No, won't have waited. But Dr. Harlow, this sort of sample will not come in any doctor's life, all of his practice of 30, 40 years. He was a rare man. Dr. Harlow was a rare man to whom this case study just fell into his lap. He cannot wait for a second person. He will have to study this person. So what he did is, he took months together to cure him. This man got cured. 3-4 months he remained in the hospital. He got cured. And after he got cured, of course, physiologically, Dr. Harlow couldn't understand this man because he was not dead. And he had his memory also. So the physiological part or the psychological part that he had his memory intact was something Dr. Harlow knew in 4 months. Now, Dr. Harlow wanted to study, has it had any impact on him otherwise? Memory is intact. Let me see, has this accident, has the brain damage had an impact on his skills, motor skills, intellectual skills, social skills, communication skills? These are all management topics, by the way. So what Dr. Harlow did is, he started following this man. He followed this man for some 1 or 2 jobs that he did here and there. For somewhere around a year, this man kept on changing his jobs in different countries, and Dr. Harlow followed him. When Dr. Harlow followed him, Dr. Harlow kept on asking his colleagues, what is his nature now? What is his nature previously? Is there any difference in nature? Open-ended question, exploration, new variable, loosely defined. I repeat, open-ended question, loosely defined, exploratory research, no structured questioning. Dr. Harlow went and asked, he went and asked each and every person, is there any difference in his intellectual skill or motor skills or communication skills pre and post his accident? And after a year of this study, after a year of this case study, Phineas Gage B case study, Dr. Harlow wrote 2 books and 2 research articles way back in 1800 and something. And that is where the theory of personality being attached to the brain came up. Before that, I think this is a case study of 1848, if I'm not wrong. Before that, people used to say that an overall personality is only physical. It has nothing to do with intellect. It has nothing to do with the brain. It is after this accident when Dr. Harlow went around and the people told him, listen, he can do his job. He's good at his motor skills. He does the same job very well. His memory is okay. His motor skills are okay. He can memorize all of us. He knows his name. Even after the accident, he's absolutely same. Then what is the difference? They told him that this man was very jovial. This man was very humorous. He was full of life. But now, after he's come back, they named him as a jackass. He named him as a jackass, a person who's very dumb, a person who's not at all interesting. Not that he became an introvert. There's a difference between a jackass and an introvert. Not that he became an introvert. He was talking to people. Not that he became an introvert. He was definitely talking to people. But they said he doesn't have that charm anymore. He's not that jovial anymore. His personality has changed. Case study. If I have to quote it in Hindi, ना कभी हुई है, ये अब हो रही है और ना कभी आगे होगी. So an episode or a case that has never happened in the past will never happen in future. The best case studies you can make is in 2020 thanks to COVID. Neither has it happened in the past 100 years. Ask your ancestors. They will tell you episodes of things which have happened in India. So that there had been a time of emergency in India. There had been a time of Indo-Pak war in India. There have been riots in India. So your ancestors will narrate to you those stories. But if you ask those same people today, dad or mom, have you ever seen this sort of a curfew for 5 months together? They'll say no. COVID by far is the first of its type of its case study in business. It's doomed the market. We do not know when we'll come back. We do not know when the wave gets flattened, and it's here to stay. Doctors say start living with it. जो भी करना है इसके साथ ही कर लो क्योंकि ये नहीं जाने वाला. So case study, COVID is a case study, okay? And things that happen to COVID is a case study. So that's about case study. I hope it's understood. To my students, I give an example. I would like to give it here also. The famous family business of Ranbaxy, and the way those two guys, I mean the two people brought it down to ashes. A dynasty of family business started by their forefathers, by Bhai Mohan Singh, and the way the two guys brought it down is the biggest family succession case study in management. The Dabbawalas in Mumbai and their Six Sigma perfection is the case study of Harvard today. Right, so case study, one of its sort, one sample, one company is more than enough. Maximum 2 to 3. You don't need a data of more than 3. No 60, no 300, no 500. Only 3. 1 to 3 people or company or whatever you want to call it. That's a case study. Then there's something called a content analysis, or we call it narrative analysis, or we call it text analysis, or we call it thematic analysis. All these analyses are done on narratives, or we call it textual data, which we collect from interviews and which we collect from focus group interviews. So we either collected from personal interviews, or we collected personal interviews or in-depth interviews as we call it, or from focus group. Let me quickly tell you the difference between a personal interview and a focus group. There are questions you can ask people. I mean, you know, this research is not rocket science. It's something which comes from your life. I can relate everything to my life. If you talk of things which you can speak to your friends one-to-one, there are things you can speak to your friend but not to your family. So if there's a joint family, suppose this is a joint family of 20 people sitting, if there's an episode you cannot narrate in them, it should be asked to you through a personal interview. So if you're asking a person, does he smoke? If you're asking a person if he's in depression, please don't ask it in a focus group. Please ask it in a personal interview. But if you have a question like, is your company coming up with a sustainable fabric? What sort of a fabric do you think we can use? Can we use the orange peel to make the fabric for a brand like H&M? These sorts of questions you can ask to focus group. But then who are going to be your sample? Who's going to be your sample? Your sample is going to be experts from the industry. I cannot tell you, can fabric be made of orange peel? None of us, I think, sitting here can even comment on it. It has to be the focus group of these 10, 20 people has to be done from industry experts. They are the ones who can tell me that orange peel which is just thrown off, can I take that as a fabric? Can I convert that fiber into fabric? Okay. Again, I'm still on my point, and I'm reiterating again and again so that you guys memorize this by the end of this 2-hour session. Exploratory research, open-ended question, new variable, loosely defined. I think I missed out on one thing which was loosely defined in this example. So this man, he actually did this research and compiled it and said that this is what happens after death. He did an interview of some 25 to 30 people who had slipped into death and came back. Some people said, I saw God. Some said they saw light. Some said my wife. Some said my children. There were another fearful set who said, I saw my boss also. So imagine the dedication he had to his job. Now, what the researcher did is he listed down all this and he made a research paper, and I said, this is my finding. Now, why do I call it loosely defined? Why I call it loosely defined is because this is not the end of research. Can I read his paper and say, okay, this is what happens after death, and this is what will happen after death to me? No, I cannot say that. That is the reason I call exploratory research as loosely defined. It has to be taken further by descriptive study and proven through numbers. Has to be taken. There is no other way. But of course, somebody has to start exploration. So there's one man who invents the gravity, and there's another man who comes and say, okay, gravity would be this much into this much numerically. The higher the mass, the higher the gravity. Those descriptive studies happen afterwards. The first person has to invent gravity. On that, other people will work and do descriptive. So, oh yes, grounded theory. This is something very, very important for qualitative researchers to know. What is a grounded theory? Grounded theory is a theory where, we don't have a fixed theory. Okay, so there are two ways of going around doing a qualitative research for a paper. One is that I know a theory, I ask questions about that theory, and I write them down and write a paper. The second thing is, I don't know a theory, and I just don't know what the theory is. The problem that I'm studying, there is no set theory of it. So what I do is I do a PI or I do a focus group, whatever inputs I get, I build the theory from that. So in case you people do that, in case you people start with a PI, get the inputs and then build a theory, then that is what is grounded theory. All right. So what is grounded theory? Grounded theory was actually discovered by Glaser and Strauss. They actually went to the hospital and they wanted to find out, how does the medical staff treat patients who are about to die? So there are a set of patients in the hospital. There is a set of patients who have been declared that these guys have this much time. That's it. So how does the hospital staff, does the attitude of a hospital staff change when it deals with such patients? That is what they wanted to find out. So they took a set of personal interviews. They used 1 or 2 case studies. Imagine it's a mix. These are all inputs. They did case studies. They did personal interviews. They studied secondary data. They went and interviewed the staff. They did observation technique. Observation is a different technique altogether. They used all these inputs and finally came out with a theory. They finally came out with the theory where they said that when a man is about to die, there is a religious consideration which nurses and doctors start having with him. While treating him, there is a philosophy that they start talking to the patient, so on and so forth. So this grounded theory concept was brought in by Glaser and Strauss, and this is the study that they started with. For a grounded theory, it's a very difficult thing, by the way. You don't have a past theory. When you have a past theory and you're working on it, it's easy to do qualitative as well as quantitative. But a grounded theory is a theory where you don't have a past theory at all. You are developing it. How are you developing it? Through primary data, interviews, and existing documents. One example of a grounded theory which I generally give is the movie Stree. I don't know how many of you have watched it. There's a movie called Stree. So what they were trying to do in the whole movie is nothing but grounded theory. There was no variable defined or a theory defined of how that so-called will go off. Can everybody please mute, or is there something somebody has to say? Can everybody please mute? Yeah. So in the movie Stree, what they are doing is they are forming a theory. They are forming a theory, and at the end of the movie, they do form a theory. But initially, there is no basis. There is just no basis of how to get rid of Stree. At the end of it, through secondary data. So if you remember, those of you who've seen the movie will know that there was this one man who had a book in the library, secondary data. Then this man takes them to another man, ancestral man, who tells them that what happened with Stree. That is primary data, personal interview in depth. Further, the people who are picked up every next day from 3 is observation technique. And so on. And so from all this, they finally found a grounded theory. They found out a theory of how to get rid of this lady, so-called lady. Okay, so that's about grounded theory. And phenomenology. Phenomenology is almost like a case study. The only difference being phenomenology is huge. So what happened to the education industry in COVID? I mean, this online education industry has flourished a lot. This is a case study. But all that is happening in this whole year, the series of events which is happening in COVID is phenomenology. The episodes that you see on television where a COVID patient is not buried, imagine he's not even buried, the fearful people, attacking doctors and not burying the dead people who have COVID, that is phenomenon. That is phenomenon. So one phenomenon, and the study of that phenomenon is called phenomenology. And Sir just mentioned historic studies when we take something from history and study. So if you have seen the movie Padmavat, so that is a historic study. That is actually a historic study of a very powerful ruler, very negatively portrayed, although because he was a cruel Mughal ruler supposedly. But then we have to remember he ruled half of India. He's known as the person with the second largest land that he had in India. So he couldn't be that bad as has been portrayed. But of course, that phenomena of a Mughal ruler coming and conquering the Indian dynasty is something which is a phenomenon which will never come. So Babri Mosque is a phenomenon. I mean, Nirbhaya, for that matter, was a phenomenon. So these are phenomenons, and they happen and go. It's a time, they happen and go, and you have to do the research primarily at that point of time. If you do it after the phenomenon, you don't get that good results, although some people can narrate it. So many of our ancestors narrate the time of emergency in India. So it was a phenomenon. People are narrating it till date. Right. So, okay. Yeah. I think I'll just stop and take any questions before I start with my major second topic. Any questions? Manisha ma'am, if you could just line up questions, I'll read the chat too.
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, there's a query from one of the students that can you tell them about sentiment analysis as well?
I will do that, ma'am. In Nvivo, I'll do that. And I'll do that very quickly because we are short of time.
Okay. There is another question that whether in case study, we study one case or multiple cases.
You can study multiple cases. So if I take an example of Ranbaxy, the fall of Ranbaxy, succession which went wrong, I could take Ranbaxy and 2 more companies whose family succession got wrong, where the sons doomed the brand. So I could take 3 studies also. Not necessary to take one, but it could be one also. Yes.
Okay. There's another question that some people are asking that it's very difficult to get a qualitative paper published.
That's
so is it so?
Yes, it's true. This I take. My quantitative papers have got published. Qualitative is taking time. It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
Because I believe these are the exploratory ones, and they don't have any maybe literature backup.
No, ma'am, it's not because of that. It so happens that, as I said, loosely defined. What happens in a quantitative research is, we test on data, on quantitative data, and there are written rules. Cronbach more than 0.7, okay. Cronbach less than 0.7, rejected. Okay. Factor loading more than 0.7, no cross loading. More than 0.7 in 3 items, cross loading. So the numbers are defined. The parameters are defined. What happens in a qualitative research? Now, just let us look at the qualitative research of what happens after death. Despite the fact that I've listed it, for me, it is actually a research I've done with 25 people who went into trance, and I've not done it myself. I've written down what they felt. But to a second person who's reading my research paper, an editor, it might look as nonsense. So that is why it is difficult to get a qualitative paper published. That's very true. That's very true.
All right. One last question, can the students have an example of grounded theory from management?
Grounded theory from management. I haven't come across any, but okay, I'll give you an example. I'll share one of my papers I'm making. Okay. There is I come from the I am a BSc textile and then an MBA student, so I generally talk about textiles, fabrics. That is my product specialization if you talk about it in management. So there is this huge thing about sustainability. I think it is there not only in fashion nowadays, it's there everywhere, even in finance, HR, everywhere they're talking about sustainability. Okay. What is sustainability? Anti-consumption. What is anti-consumption? Don't consume. Be with the set of clothes you have. Don't buy new clothes. Because when you buy new clothes, you will discard the new clothes. Then it will go to landfill. Then it will destroy our environment. And then we all will die. Over exaggeration. Okay. Also, they are talking about sustainability. They are talking about the industry. I'm coming to the industry problem first, which we call a rationale. And then I'll come to the study. You know, you have to, in your paper also in the introduction chapter, you have to always explain why am I doing this. So I'll explain you why I'm taking this research forward. So H&M has come up with sustainability. It says that I'm only going to use cotton or I'm only going to use this and that. Okay. Now I am doing a study. These brands are coming to India and preaching to us sustainability, something that we already were. So cotton bags, thैला जिसको हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है? That was there in our culture way back. H&M's and Zara's didn't have to come and tell us, okay, there is sustainability. United Nations didn't have to tell India there is sustainability. Ask our forefathers, they still have that cotton thैला, which they take for fruits, which they take to the market. They don't use polythenes. They don't use polythenes. So we were always sustainable. I remember using my elder sister's books. We didn't get new books. We were always sustainable. That is sustainability. That's what they say. Don't waste, don't buy more, because the more you buy, the more you waste. I remember having worn clothes of my sister, for that matter. So what I'm doing now, this is a rationale. What I'm doing now is a qualitative research on Indians and their sustainability measures. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to find out what are the motivations of Indians to be sustainable. What I'm trying to find out is I'm going to that generation of uncles and aunties, 60 plus, and I'm going and interviewing them. I have some 20 interviews already, and I've gone to those 65-year-old women, elderly women, and asked them. I said, Auntie, why did you not buy clothes? And you know, they are so sustainable that starting from when they were young till now, they don't buy clothes. They don't buy faltu clothes. They don't do faltu kharcha. Why? Why don't they do it? And why do the Americans spend so much on a credit card, even if they're old? Why does an American old couple go for a world tour and an Indian old couple not go for a world tour, but save that money also to be given to their grandchildren? Why? So that is a research I'm doing. Now, there is no set theory of sustainability when it comes to Indians. There are theories of sustainability. There's a theory of 3 R's. Recycle, I'll come to that in Nvivo also. Recycle, reuse. Okay, there are such theories, but there is no such theory among Indians. And I'll give you an example when I go to Nvivo of how I have worked on interviews and tried to build up a theory. So everything is not fitting into that traditional theory of recycle, reuse, reduce. It's not fitting into that. So there are new dimensions coming into that theory, and that is what is grounded theory. Making your own theory, something that that is an extension of the past theory. So that is what it is. Okay. So let me go to my. I think we're finished with questions. Let me go to my next part.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So you can go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's 7:10 already. this is a part of theory that I think I can take tomorrow morning, because maybe some of you get confused with this. That is making of a scale. What I'll do is, I think I'll straight away go to Nvivo. Let's go to the software, and give me a moment. I'm just sharing my screen.
Sure, ma'am.
Did I share this one? Did I stop sharing? Yes. Okay.
I think your screen sharing has been disabled. You need to share your screen again.
I'll do that, ma'am. Just let me open Nvivo.
Sure, ma'am. Okay,
I
ma'am.
think Nvivo has been installed. I hope so. If not, yeah. So the trial version can be installed. We can straight away start from, I have my data set, so I can start.
All right, ma'am.
Maybe 7:30 I'll stop for questions, and then we can end the session. Just a minute, it's taking a little time to open. It's a heavy software. And by the way, just till it opens, let me tell you, Nvivo is for qualitative research. It can take up any file. It can take up an audio file. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Sorry. Yeah, so it can take up an audio file. It can take up a video file. It can take up a text file, a PDF file, personal interview, focus group. But it's not that easy. So when I start with it, you will come to know that it's not that easy to work on Nvivo. Some people prefer working manually than working on Nvivo because it's not that easy. So we'll just go through this quickly. Okay, let me share my screen with you people. Give me a minute. All right, so that is a screen of Nvivo. I hope it's visible to all of you. So all of you, those of you who have downloaded it from the website will see this screen. In the screen, what we have to go to is we have to go to a new project, okay, and start work. But I will be using a file where I have already got a few files because, you know, importing files also takes time on Nvivo. And that is what I just want to open and show it to you. I'll straight away start analysis with this. An Nvivo trial will only be available for 15 days, by the way. So you have these 15 days to try and find out. There are a set of videos too, which are available online, which can be tried. So Okay, so can you see the files now on the software? I'll have to go to chat now because this is a practical. This is where I start the practical session. So I'll have to see the chat. Yeah, give me a minute. Let me open the chat. I'll just give me a minute. Let me. Okay, yeah. Now the chat is open. Okay, now. If you can see all the files that are there on Nvivo, okay, we can straight away start analysis. Let me introduce you to the types of files that I have in Nvivo right now, and the easy way of importing them also I will tell you. So those of you, I don't know how many of you have downloaded it and working on it, but in case this recording can be given to all the participants. So in case you download it even today or tomorrow, you will be able to do all that I'm telling you because I'm going really, really slow. But there's a part of it which I want to do today in the next 15 minutes. Downloaded but not worked. Maybe then, so I think it's something to do with your IT department could help you because, you know, sometimes it has a problem in getting downloaded on the Mac also. So if it is more to do with software, so 64 or 32, there are conditions to download. I will share the link. I will share the link. Yes. Yes. So now this is the software. Now, how do you import files? You just go to import. You go to files. Okay. You go to import. You go to files. I think I did. Did I not share the link with? I think I shared the link with Sir. I'm not sure. I'll just check. I'll just check. Just a second.
Yes, ma'am. I believe the link was being shared by you.
Yes, I had shared the link. Yeah.
Yes. But some people are finding some error while downloading, maybe, or while installing.
That will be a technical IT problem.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you go to import, you open the file, click the file, and it gets imported. So that is how you take in the file. Okay, so this is how I have brought in all these files. Now look at the types of files. Okay, let me tell you. I'll just stop here once I tell you what is the input which can be taken in Nvivo. This is what an Nvivo screen looks like. So all of you who are, I don't know if there's a group or something where an IT person can help them, but if there is a group, I think an IT person can always help for tomorrow's session. If everybody can download and come, it'll be really nice. Now, look at the types of files I have. I have an interview, which is a personal interview, which is a text file. So interview of Mrs. Asha. Again, I said this is my actual research done on 65-year-old women on how they were sustainable in their times. Okay, and even now. So let me open Mrs. Asha. So this is Mrs. Asha. When you double click on the file, what will happen is Nvivo will open the content on the right side. So whichever file you double click, you will be able to see the content on another window, on a separate window. Let me show it to you. Of course, it takes, it's a heavy software and it takes time. So it's opened a separate window. It shows all the questions of interview Mrs. Asha, and it also shows the answers to it. Okay. You're here for a shock because when I tell you how to analyze this, it's going to be quite shocking. But first, tell you the types of input we have. So the first type of input we have is called a text input. Okay. Where we have a content in you know, whether it is an ethnographic script, whether it is a personal interview script, whether it is a focus group script, whether it is a projective technique script, those are techniques. Your script will look something like this, which is a text script, written text script. This is one input which you can take in Nvivo. Further, if there is a research paper that you had found out about your topic, so I did find out a topic research paper on my topic, which was domestic artifact sustainability in the context of the Indian middle class. This is a research paper written by Dr. Vyas, and it was very, very close to my research topic. I added this paper also to my input. So now I have two types of input. One is secondary data, which is this paper. Second is primary data, Mrs. Asha, Mrs. Pathak, interview transcript. These three are primary data through personal interview. Okay. Then I have some pictorial data. So I have pictures also. So I went on the net, I saw all the pictures and I took picture from their houses. So I got the picture of these so-called thalas, which have been actually recycled from a torn jean or a khadi kurta or something like that. I took pictures of them. I have added them also. Okay, so these are picture files. I have added them also into Nvivo. So look at the pictures I have added. I got this from their respective houses. So these pictures. So a can, this can is an oil can, and it was filled up with rice. So when it gets empty, they wash it and fill it up again and again with rice. So that lady did not have a plastic jar. She did not have a plastic jar for rice, the unsustainable, environment not friendly plastic jar. She had this aluminum dabba in which she was refilling rice. There was another picture I got from the houses, and this is not actually from their houses, this is actually from a research paper. Dr. Vyas's research paper had such pictures. You would get such pictures on the web. You can take it from all the 25 to 30 people you interviewed. So this is a girl who's showing how her mother has actually converted a sari into a suit for her. All right, so this is also something called recycling. We call it recycling. Okay, so I've taken these pictures. So I have transcripts. I showed you three types of data. I have a research paper, which is secondary data, domestic artifacts. I have three interview transcripts. These are text data. These are personal interviews. I have three picture data, which is file recycle, recycle to, reuse to. And I have one more rather. I have a video data also. I have a video data also. I went to YouTube and I found out data of, I tried to find out videos of couples who talk about sustainability. All right, so I found out this video. I'll just play it for 2 minutes so that you understand the context. I've told you about my research.
There are some people who want to live in harmony with nature. They do not want the fast-paced and artificial city life. But instead, they create their own little natural microcosm, giving back to the planet more than what they take. We caught up with a couple from Kannur in Kerala who are living their dream, a dream of living naturally, away from the humdrum of the city. In a 34-acre piece of land, they have grown their own food forest. They live in a tiny house made.
All right, so this is my video data. Everything is concentrated on my research objective. If you see, everything is linked. Everything is linked. These couple away from the hustle bustle of the city, they have made a house of mud. They are living a very simple life, growing their own vegetables. So again, a part of sustainability, a part of being in harmony with the environment. Then there is another type of data. Somebody spoke to me about sentiment analysis. We will be doing that. But there's another data which I get from social media. So this is of course this is a different data. I shouldn't be showing you this. Just give me a minute. So let me show you one data which comes from social media. Okay, so this is my data from Facebook. Okay, it talks about all the posts which were put about sustainability, about gardening, about organic food, so on and so forth. I got two files. These are social media files. Okay, this file is from Facebook, and the other one which says Twitter search, this is a file from Twitter. So it has all the tweets, it has the time of the tweet, it has the username of the tweet. They were talking about sustainable tourism, right? So what I mean to say over here is, in this one file that you see, there is text data, there is video data, there is Twitter, Facebook data, there is audio is not there, but you could have an audio too. There is secondary data, and there are all sorts of data. Okay, and okay, how to get files from Twitter and FB? I'll do that. For that, you will have to download not only Nvivo, but by tomorrow morning, you'll have to do a lot. You'll have to also download something called an N-capture. So if you really want to learn how the data came from social media, you will have to download Nvivo till tomorrow, and also be ready with N-capture download. So 2 downloads you have to do. Okay. Now, I'm just doing a few basic functions. Okay. It might take time, but the proper coding and sentiment analysis is something I want to start afresh. This is just an introduction to Nvivo. Somebody told me about sentiment analysis. Okay, so let me start with sentiment analysis. This is the script of Mrs. Asha. And Mrs. Asha has spoken somewhere around 1800 words, my one interview transcript, and you can see they are open-ended questions. I never take structured questionnaires to my samples. So I have some 25 to 30 interviews, open-ended interviews. I have spoken 1 line, and I have let them speak some 10-15 lines. Exploratory research, open-ended research, and this is where I am about to do a sentiment analysis. Why do I want to do a sentiment analysis? Is because I want to know what is the sentiment of Mrs. Asha towards sustainability. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? I could also do a sentiment analysis on the Twitter comments of a brand. It will take a little bit of time. So let me do a sentiment analysis on Mrs. Asha. And then when I'm taking your questions, I will just press the button to do the sentimental analysis of Twitter search. Okay, so let me do sentiment analysis of Mrs. Asha. So I click on Mrs. Asha and open it up. How do I do a sentiment analysis? I go on, just a minute. I go to home. I go to auto code. In auto code, it says 2 things. One is identify themes. We will do the whole exercise tomorrow of identifying themes. I will do the exercise of identifying themes, or what we call open coding, on a video file, audio file, text file, picture file also. That all is kept for tomorrow. Let me do a sentiment analysis. What is a sentiment analysis? I identify a sentiment and I tell him go to next, and I say finish. Now what will the software do? It will take a little bit of time, and it will tell me the sentiment of this lady, Mrs. Asha, towards sustainability. What is the basis of that sentiment? That basis of my sentiment is the text that I have collected from that sample. So the software is not a magician, who's going to search the internet all. No, it will only process what you have given it. If I have given it a file of Asha, sample called Asha for 1800 words, it will do a sentiment analysis only on that. Okay. It's taking a little bit of time. Let me see that. And then maybe I can quickly take you to how you get it from social media. Meanwhile, any questions, please, while it's processing, please ask me questions so that we can take the session forward. Any questions? Any questions till now? Okay, let me see the chat. I don't see any questions. Any questions, please put it in the chat so that I can answer it while the software is taking time to process. Yes, it is paid. It is paid. And the student version is available for some 7,800. So PhD students can buy it for 7,800. How to identify topics of research? You have to identify the topics of research after studying somewhere around 100 papers on your topic and seeing where is the gap. And sometimes, when you study a paper, there's this last paragraph which says, please mute. The future scope of the paper always has that one thing which is still not done by researchers. So that you can take up as a qualitative analysis. Okay. In sentiment analysis, are we supposed to address the research objectives? No, Vidya, not really. Not really. So Vidya ma'am, you don't have to. A sentiment analysis is something we do in the corporate. So I've done a sentiment analysis of Zara. If I start doing it now, it'll take a lot of time. So there are some 200 posts that I got from a company, Zara, Facebook, and I did a sentiment analysis. Why I did a sentiment analysis is because I wanted to know that are consumers positive towards Zara or negative towards Zara. Also, I wanted to know if they are negative towards Zara, what are the negative comments? So the software can actually give me the negative comments. It can actually tell me that the bad words were used while they were talking about customer care, or while they were talking about things like that. So the software can also tell me that. So we'll be doing that. Do you have to take permission for accessing these comments? No, you don't have to take any permission. You can pick them up from the net straight away. Does the use of AI capabilities machine learning too, ma'am? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So if you are thinking that you're going to put an audio file and it's going to be analyzed itself, you are mistaken. You will have to convert the audio file into a written text. Here in this case, you see a personal interview. So this is written text. What I'll have to do with my video and audio file is I'll have to convert it to written text. Does it address language differences? Yes, there are a set of languages which can be addressed in Nvivo, but Hindi and Punjabi are not one of those. So if you have a script in Hindi, it will not access. So that sentiment analysis done. You can see the screen. You can see the screen. Look at the right side. It says, just see the analysis. It has actually given you numbers. So it says very negative. There was one comment in Mrs. Asha's script which was very negative. There are 2 comments which are moderately negative. There are 12 comments which are moderately positive, and there will be another few when it starts So when it stops processing, I'll be able to see another. So what it is showing me is, so just let me analyze. So what is it showing me is it's showing the positive side more than the negative side, right? So when the positive side is bigger, now this proportion is the number of comments. So if the positive side is more than the negative side, which means the consumer Asha is positive about sustainability. So what does it mean? What do you analyze from this? You analyze from this that despite the fact that this 65-year-old woman was speaking about the fact that she did not have money, was speaking about the fact that she had to save for her children, was speaking about the fact that she could not buy saris. She did not speak negative about it. She was always speaking about it in the positive sense, which means this lady is too proud to not have bought a sari for the past 5 years. She's not cribbing about it. Now, how has the software been able to analyze this text? The software has been able to analyze this text on the basis of the words that lady used. Okay, so there are ways of saying a thing. Suppose you say, I did not get anything in my life. Okay, it was a miserable life with no garments. If this lady would have given these statements, the sentiment would have come more negative. And if this lady has given statements like we had to save, we were taught to save, it is always good to save money, then the software will show a positive segment. So you see the analysis, you see the analysis also the same can be shown through a graph. So this is what the lines show. There are shades of blue, 1 very negative comment, 2 moderately negative, 12 moderately positive. So what do you conclude? This is probably a positive script. Okay. Yeah, let me see questions meanwhile. While taking interviews, if it is taken in any other language, then how to import this? No, Vidya ma'am, as I said, it does not support other languages. It supports French. Nvivo supports French, German. It does not support other languages. You will have to convert it to English and put it. You will have to convert it to English and put it into the software. How many neutral responses, ma'am? There are many neutral responses, sir, but neutral responses is something in a Likert scale. In a Likert scale from 1 to 5, the 3 number is something I hate. Why I hate is because it doesn't tell me whether it is positive or negative. So if somebody says a 1, 2, I know he strongly disagrees. Somebody says a 4, 5, I know he strongly agrees. But if somebody says a 3, it is of no use to me. So I don't even open the neutral comments and see. How to report this in the research paper? Surely I'll show you a research paper on Nvivo. Okay. So this is, let me finish sentiment analysis and let me finish one more thing, which is called an auto code. Let me do it on the same document. When it's doing the auto code, okay, when it's processing, at that time I'll answer the rest of the question. So with the same script, Mrs. Asha, and mind you, I can do this with everything. I can do this with a PDF file. I can do this with a coded textual file, with a personal interview, with an ethnographic script, with a phenomenological script. सब कुछ text में ही तो आएगा, everything will come in text. So Mrs. Asha, I want to auto code. Okay, there's something called line to line coding, which I'll come to tomorrow, but there's something called an auto code. Now, how does the line to line coding is like I read a line and then I mark it and then I say, okay, this comes in this code. It's a very tedious job and we'll do it tomorrow. How do you do an auto code? So Mrs. Asha, go to home, go to auto code. Just press auto code, and in auto code, it will give you 2 options. Okay, so it will say identify themes, and second, it will say identify sentiments. So in the previous exercise, what we had done is we had pressed on identify sentiments. Now what we will do is we will press on identify themes. Now what are themes? Themes are nothing but what we technically call as codes. And codes are nothing which we technically call as variables in our quantitative study. So when in the script, when I do a line-to-line coding or I do an auto coding from a software, when I come out with 10 themes, those 10 themes will help me make my model. The way 10 variables help me make a conceptual model, a proposed model in quantitative study. Similarly, these 10 themes that I recognize, so I'm going to identify themes, I'm going to next. He started identifying themes out of my script, Mrs. Asha. Now, these themes which get identified from this, I will form a theory. And this exercise that I'm doing on one file, you people will have to do it on 25 files together. So it will take time. It's taking time for one file. For 25 files, it will take time. Okay, but now this is okay. So I say finish. I say finish, and it has done an auto code or auto theme. So what has it done? It has divided the script automatically into some themes or some codes. Now, what are these themes or codes, or what we call open coding in qualitative research? This is not something which we are doing on Nvivo, by the way. This is something which was done traditionally in qualitative research also. This is something we have been doing in school also when we used to learn for social studies subject. There was a history chapter given. It was something like the text that you see in front of your screens. We used to highlight the important points and we used to make notes. Okay, it is the same exercise which in qualitative research analysis is called coding or open coding or themes or nodes or line-to-line coding. This is not something you can only do in Nvivo. Nvivo will just help you organize this better. This can also be done manually. So qualitative research is not something that can only be done by Nvivo. There are people writing qualitative research papers, A grade and A grade journals, and they are not using Nvivo at all. So I'm just here to tell you how the software can help you organize, because there's a lot of data. I have sustainability data from social media sites. I have it from interviews. I have it from pictures. I have it from videos. I want the total analysis. So that is what. So it will now identify the codes, and when it processes, I'll show you the codes. Yeah, so these, okay, it's doing it. It's taking time. Meanwhile, let me quickly come to chat. Yes. Okay, auto code should we do for each file or all contents of other files too? Yes, ma'am, you will have to do an auto code for each and every line of each and every interview. How many interviews are enough for a study? Minimum 30, maximum 60 maybe. You could do more, but because it's a qualitative process, so I think probably something like 30 to 60. I take my, I base all these answers on A grade papers. If I'm converting the text as a researcher, I could be doing it incorrectly, which may lead to erroneous analysis. Yes, it can, Sayyid sir, and that is the reason why editors reject qualitative papers. So the analysis that you are doing with your intellectual mind, the same should be the mind of the editor, which is very, very difficult. You are different subjectively and he's different subjectively. Now, these are the auto codes generated. Okay, these are the auto codes. So what has the software done? Anything to do with, anything to just see, anything to do with the soap. Okay, he's listed it together. So what has the software done? If the lady said, I'm giving you instances because I know the script, so I'm able to analyze. Unless and until you don't read your scripts, you will not be able to understand. So I've read my script, so I'm telling you. So in soaps, many women told us that when we asked them that how do you discard, we gave them examples. We gave them examples like how do you discard your books, your garments, your toiletries. So in that, a few women told us that what we do is we collect the small little soap pieces which are left in the bathroom. Okay, so after bathing, those small little soap pieces which are left, we boil them up and use them as a detergent. Okay, there are yet others who told me in the script. Now that is the reason the software has clustered soap pieces, liquid soap, bathing together. Okay, this is similar. This is called coding. So the software has given the code name soap, right? So sustainability through soap, or sustainability through toiletries, or sustainability through bathing. You could give it any name. You could give it a different name. I could give it a different name. So there were ladies who said that the liquid soap that we have, when the liquid soap comes in a bottle and it finishes off and we cannot squeeze it further, we put water into the liquid soap bottle and rinse it and use it up, say for because it becomes liquid and it's not usable, we use it to clean the wash basin. So that is what the women have said. if they have spoken about clothes, look at the software. It has clubbed something called clothes. See, you see this, the orange one? So it has clubbed something called clothes. It is one of the code. Clothes, good clothes, food clothes, waste clothes. So what are these? These are all transcripts where Mrs. Asha might have made a reference of the clothes. So she said, I do something with the waste clothes. She must have said that I recycle my good clothes. She must have said that I give clothes to get food utensils. Old clothes are given and utensils are coming. So the software has clubbed them together and made something called a code or a theme or an open coding or whatever you call it. This will help us build a theory. So let me go and come to questions now. I think we have done the major two things over here, which is auto code and sentiment analysis. Yeah, ma'am, how many interviews are enough for a study? If I'm converting the text as a researcher, I could be doing it incorrectly. Yes. For a qualitative research paper, what and how many types of data? So I've already spoken about it, sir. There is PI, there is video, there are pictures, there are audio files. And if you want to know the techniques of data collection, these are the types of files. So there's an audio file, there's a video file, there's a social media file, there is a text file, there is a picture file. All these are the types of data which Nvivo can analyze. But what are the methods by which you collect data for techniques of collection of data for qualitative research? Those techniques are ethnography, case study, personal interview, focus group interview, projective techniques, so on and so forth. I hope the difference is clear. I could do a last thing, but it might take time. So how do we report? Okay, so let me not start that thing. Let me show you a paper of Nvivo. Although we're just at the starting, you might not be able to relate to it, but okay, let me try showing you a paper. I'll just show you a sample paper of Nvivo. Give me a minute. All right, so this is a paper where he has reported findings from Nvivo. Let me share it with you. Give me a minute. Can everybody see the paper? Can everybody see the paper? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So this is a paper which has actually used Nvivo analysis. Okay, so you can read I can send it over to you. It is trying to study the negative brand meaning. Okay, and it has tried to do it through social media. So negative brand meaning for some FMCG companies, it has tried to study. It has tried to study it from social media. So I'll just show you. Not done coding yet, but see data collection. So we will do coding. So this is what it has. So this is something called coding we are going to do tomorrow. It has reported it from Nvivo. This is the auto code that I just showed you. I just showed you an auto code, okay? Food, clothes, etc., which had different colors. So this is what he's reported as a chart. It is an auto code chart he has listed. Okay, and for the this is something called a word count. We are going to do it tomorrow. This is also an output of, so if I go to Mrs. Asha's file and I go for a word count, it will show me a count of the words. So in his text of interviews, environment came 6 times, sustainable came 3 times, application came 1 time, so on and so forth. Right, so this is how he's shown a word count, and this is how the word count, I will show it to you tomorrow. He has generated a word count in FMCG. So like for example, the product comes in the center. So probably people spoke more about the product than any other thing. So What does it show? The analysis is very, very subjective. So probably this word cloud shows that people are more concerned about the product qualities than the fact that it comes from plastic or it comes from synthetic or it's going to destroy the environment. They are least bothered. They want to know more about the product. So these are reportings of they're all reportings of Nvivo, and of course, as I told you, there has to be a managerial implication to every research. So this is what you, even in a qualitative research, that is the reason I was explaining you managerial implications of all the research we are going to do. All right, please do share this paper. I will be sharing this. Do we have a common platform where we can share this? A video of the session you will have to ask the organizers. I'm open to giving this recording. There's no problem. Okay, the papers or the inputs, I think the people can share. I don't know how to share. Should I share the link? Okay, give me a minute. Okay.
Ma'am, we will have a WhatsApp group and we will be sharing your inputs to the participants.
So we have the last 10 minutes. If anybody wants to ask a question on anything that I've done so far. And yeah, any questions? Manisha ma'am, we can take the questions and then end the session at 8 exact.
Sure, ma'am. I think you have been continuously replying to the questions which people are asking. So let me see if any question has been left. Ma'am, one of the question is that auto code that should we do for each file or all the contents of other files together?
We have to do it if I can, give me a minute. It will take some time, but I think I can do one more question. Then we have 10 minutes. So I hope the Nvivo file is visible.
Yes,
what I'll do, I'll just tell them how to bring data from the website. So somebody was asking me, how did you get the Twitter file? Rest of the files, I think you have understood. You will first save them to your desktop. And from the desktop, you will go to import files. From import files, you'll go to files. Okay, and these are the files. All your desktop files will show and you will pick up the files. So rest of the files, whether it's audio, video, text, I think you are clear. Let me quickly show you how do you get a file from the internet. I think we have some 8 minutes left. So why not, if there are no questions, I can surely, just give me a minute. I'll show you how to pick up files from the internet and bring it. So let me use Twitter, or I'll have to open my Facebook page for that. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm just, okay. Ncapture is something which works only on Google Chrome. So you will have to open whatever you want, whether you want a Facebook or whether you want Twitter, you will have to open it on Google Chrome, and it is only then that you will be able to see the Ncapture icon. And it is not only something you can do on Facebook, you can do it on Twitter, you can do it on Google Scholar also. You can pick this up. So what I'm doing is, give me a minute. Yeah, I'm opening my Facebook page and I will take up some posts from there. Okay. I'll just tell you how to pick up posts. Okay. So, and by the way, for picking up posts from social media, you have to have an account. So if you want to pick up posts from Twitter, you have to have an account. So I'm just sharing Facebook. So this is my Facebook page. I hope all of you can see it. So over here on the top right side, you can see this icon, this blue color icon. Okay, blue and orange color icon. Okay, top right side corner. top right corner, you see this blue icon with an orange strip. Okay, so there's a blue ball with an orange strip. This is when you click this, you will see it says NCapture for Nvivo. So the moment you download NCapture, what will happen is that this icon will start showing on any website that you open from Google Chrome. So if you open a Google Scholar from Google Chrome, whether you open a Facebook from Google Chrome, whether you open when you open a Twitter from Google Chrome, any page that you open from Google Chrome, you will see this blue icon. Can all of you see it? Yes or no? Manisha ma'am, can you see it? I think I'll go faster if you could reply to me.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
It's available. Okay, so I'm clicking on this. Okay, I'm clicking on this, and it says capture for Nvivo. It says capture for Nvivo, and it says I'm capturing from Facebook. But before that, let me show you. I go to search of Facebook, and I say, I lately was doing this for another seminar. I say fabrics, and I say sustainable. Suppose I'm doing a research on sustainable fabrics. Now what happens is all the posts that have been there on Facebook regarding sustainable fabrics open up. Now on the left side have an option. It says, do you want people? Do you want posts? Do you want photo? Do you want video? I say I want posts. I only and only want posts. It further gives me an option. Do you want a post you have seen? Do you want a post dated from so-and-so to so-and-so? So I can scroll down and say, okay, I want only post from the year 2020. I can give an option of time. Okay. And now these are all the posts about sustainable fashion in 2020. Now what do? I go to NCapture. I go to NCapture, capture for Nvivo, and I name this file as sustainable whatever, XYZ. Okay. And it asks me that you want this file in which format. Do you want it as a web page? Should I import it into the Nvivo as a web page, or should I import it as an article? So I say, okay, please. So this is how it will look when it becomes an article. This is how it looks when it's a web page. So I say, okay, import it as a web page, doesn't matter. And I press the button capture. Okay, the moment I press the button capture, below right side below corner, I will see a notification saying show capture progress page. I press on the show capture progress page, and I get this file, and there is a status called tick. Can all of you see that? Manisha ma'am, are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
yes,
great.
ma'am.
So this tick means all the posts have been taken from the web. Okay, all the posts have been taken from the web. Now you go back to, now let me share with you, let me stop sharing with you the, okay, let me stop sharing with you the NCapture, and let me start sharing with you the Nvivo. Now my posts have been captured. Now my posts have been captured, and I go to Nvivo. I'm going to the screen of Nvivo. Okay, this was my Nvivo. This was my Nvivo screen, and I say import, and I go to NCapture. I go to import, and I go to NCapture. Now what will this do? It will open another window, and it will show me all the files that have been captured from social media or from Twitter or from Facebook ever in my life. So it will not only show me the present file of sustainable fabrics which I have captured, it will show me all the files of the previous NCaptures that I have done. Okay, so all I have to do is I will have to select the file and import it into Nvivo. That is all I have to do. So I go to import, and this is the window. So you can see it is showing all the files that I have imported from Twitter. Automatically it will show. All I have to do is press import, and the file will start showing in my, so see, sustainable tourism, waste route, Zara post, all this I have imported from this process. So this is how you get it from the internet. So it can pick up some 1500 posts, 2000 posts, anything from the internet. It can pick up Google Scholar. It can pick up articles also. So if there's an article on Forbes magazine and you want to pick it up, you can pick it up from nCapture. Just open that website from Google Chrome. On the top, you see this blue icon. Press it, say pick it up. It will import it. The moment you go to import, you go to nCapture, it will start showing that article. You can plainly import it. Right, so that'll be all for today. And yeah, I don't think there are any doubts. Manisha ma'am, up to you if we can conclude the session.
Yes, ma'am, I'm checking up in the chat section. So I think the only doubt which is being left is it okay if we take only Twitter data and analyze and write a paper on that?
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. It is okay. There is no.
Okay. So I think these are the all doubts, and you have already taken up the doubts during your session. So thank you very much, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur. It was really knowledgeable session, and the students are truly enlightened with how to analyze the quantitative data, and you gave a very wonderful introduction to this Nvivo software. So and all the questions of our participants were really answered very well by you. So thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. So this is all for today's session. We are looking forward for tomorrow. And tomorrow the session will start at 10 a.m. and it's till 12 noon. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much again. See you tomorrow.
So much. See you all.
Thank you all the participants. Thank you all the participants for joining. Looking forward for your cooperation tomorrow.